After a short time, my two uncles moved to the capital of Poland, Warsaw, and bought a 300-unit apartment house at Wonderstead. They live over there, and my father stay in Radom. This is the family Freeman history. Now let's go back to my youth. As our grandfather came to the city of Radom, he always stayed in our home. I mentioned before that my father built a big home for his family. He always respected his father. My grandfather as the head of our family. That is my parents, when my grandfather came, gave him their bed to sleep, and they moved to another room. We the children have to be quiet when our grandfather went to bed, not to make noise. When our grandfather was asleep, I remember that sometime our grandfather came to our home, a Tisha B'Av. This is a day in the history of our people from the past, a day when the Romans destroyed our temple in Jerusalem. This is a day when we the Jewish people remember our forefathers who fought the Roman after the Roman conquered Jerusalem, destroying the temple, killing most of the population of our land, the young and the men. They took as slaves to Rome. This was over 2,000 years ago. Still we remember today our people who gave their life for freedom. Yes, we remember them. On this day we have a special prayer in their memory, Tikkun Chatzot, which our older and we the younger generation are praying at midnight, lighting a candle, taking off the shoes, sitting on a little chair as a symbol of sorrow, praying, and chanting in a special melody, in a special song. My grandfather used to go out for his bed 12 o'clock at night, lighting a candle, in his hand holding a special prayer book, take a concert, sitting on a little stool, and he was chanting a prayer in a special tone. I was already asleep, but I awake, hearing and listening to the chanting voice of my grandfather. I was sleeping in another room, but the voice awaked me. I went down from my bed to the door. Through a little opening, I saw my grandfather was sitting on a little stool, holding a candle in one hand, and in another hand a little book, chanting and crying as he was praying in a very low voice. I was standing, afraid to move, shaking, as I was listening to the prayer of my grandfather. It scared me. Shaking, I went back to my bed, covered myself with blanket. It took me a long time laying on my bed till I closed my eyes. Tired, I fall asleep. In the morning, I asked my father, telling me what I was witnessing at night, and he explained me the meaning of this unusual event. Yes, this I remember. And I told my children what event for my father they remember. This is our tradition, which always remember, we always remember the history of our people. Now going back again to my young years, the happy one before the tragedy occurred. I stayed at public school till 1931. When I start gymnasium, which I finished with honors in 19, then I start gymnasium, which I finished with honor in 1935. I was a very good student. I had a photogenic graphic memory, and I loved to read books. And I read a lot of them. When I was young, I did not like to play with another boy outside. Wherever I had a free time, I was reading books. At night special, as I recall, when everyone was asleep, with a candle in one hand, and another book I was sitting reading till late at night. I had a membership card to libraries in our city. The librarian know me. They keep for me the best, the one book which have been just printed. I built a habit to talk, to write into review books. Whichever I was reading, review books, my good memory helped me to memorize whichever I was reading. Because of my memory, I did not spend too much time doing homework. A minute the teacher explained in the classroom, I had memorized it. And in the years at the university, I never had my finals. The professor had known me, and I was always in front of the blackboard. In a minute the professor finished his lecture, and then asked the student to repeat topic. I was the first. Always raised the hand. Never ever I went to the whenever I went to the school or university, I was hungry for knowledge. I don't know where I would be, in what kind of position I would be in a field of knowledge if not this wish to go interrupt my education. In my youth I was a dreamer. The unbroken dream of our people, the dream that returned our land, of our forefathers, touched me very deeply. At the age of 15, I belonged to a Zionist group of young people in our city. The leader of the group sent me to a special leadership camp at the vacation time. Over there, they teach me how to communicate with people, how to relate with a group of young people. This experience helped me later at the university in Warsaw. I belonged to a group of young men who, under the supervision of Menachem Begin, have been carrying on the science activity at the student circle. In 1934, I get my first degree in Hebrew literature. My examiner was Professor Tartakov. At this time, he was teaching at the University Lodge, Jewish history. He was well known internationally. He wrote many books about the Jewish history in Poland. I studied and read all books, all his books. My weakness was history. And I was thinking to go on after I would finish school and to continue my education in history. But at this time I was dependent on my parents, supported me to go on with my study, and they sent me to university under one condition, that I will go on and study medicine or they will not support me. My mother was always saying, you could not make a living being a historian, a doctor, a dentist, you can always make a living. So I have to subordinate myself to develop my mother. But when I was studying in Warsaw, I used to go and lecture on a history lecture. This was my nourishment for my brain. My parents didn't know about this. I remember my talking on my first, when I get my first degree in Hebrew, the problem was job. What a coincidence. The title of my book is Job. I was talking at my test more than when I was Hebrew, using only the language of the book. It's amazing for me when I travel in sometime. Now I stop in Israel, the knowledge of this Asian language is coming back to me. After a few days, I start to speak fluently Hebrew. This which you learn in the youth, you never forget. I had an easy way to learn languages. At this time in my life, I speak 7. And when I travel all over the world, the knowledge is very hopeful. This knowledge is very hopeful to me. I can easily communicate wherever I travel. At this moment, I lecture only in English, sometimes in Yiddish. When I have an older audience of older people, they only understand Yiddish. 1935, I finished gymnasium in the city of Radom with honors. The same year, I went to the University in Warsaw, the capital of Poland. Wolna Wszechnica Polska, the name. In translation, the Polish freedom place of learning. I stayed 2 years. The goal of our family freedom have been that the younger generation have to attend university only through education to find a place in our community life. The one who was not advisable, and the one to who the family was listening was Uncle Jacob. He was very bright, very intelligent. He was the one who had connection with the university in Krakow. As I recall, our family had the representation of tanneries all over Poland. And the brother of the director of the tannery was the dean at the university in Krakow. The director of the tannery was a good friend of Uncle Jacob. The money was a tool, a door opener, help. My uncle used to give a lot of money to the soccer club, which the factory have been supporting. The director from the factory was in charge of the club. And always when my uncle was coming to Krakow, they had a van, and our young uncle used to go with the director, donate money for the club, and sometimes he had some favors for him. When my uncle had been accepted at the university in Krakow, thanks to the interpretation of my uncle. Besides this, my uncle, Elias, was very bright. He was one from the best students in Stasio, very intelligent and bright. But still as a Jew, and this time in Poland you have to pay to get in medicine or dentistry, or to have